Unified World Heavyweight Championship, Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, August 20th. One of the biggest fights in the sport of boxing.
What happened then is in the past. I don't really live in the past. August 20th, I'll be present and I'll be looking forward to competing round by round. And if I follow my A, B's and C's, it should lead me to KO.
Boxing.
Okay, welcome back everyone. I hope everyone is doing okay. We've had a little bit of a down period in boxing. There's been a couple fights here and there, but we're about to get back on track. Big fight this coming Saturday, August the 20th. Olexsander Usyk versus AJ, the rematch, the rage on the Red Sea. Who the hell came up with that name? That's a terrible name. Great fight, terrible name. Olexsander Usyk is looking to defend his titles, IBF, WBO, WBA, that he took from AJ back in 2021 in a very good fight. One-sided certainly, but a good fight. It's looking pretty tall order for AJ to get his belts back. We're going to talk about all of that, get into the particulars, fight breakdowns, all that good stuff. Let's discuss. Okay, welcome aboard anybody new to the channel. What we're going to do, we'll break these fighters down, talk about their mentality a little bit, talk about the weight, talk about their trainers. I've got a section called the hurt zone where I highlight when these guys were hurt in the past. Does it play a part in this coming Saturday's fight? Bring up some footage, talk about a bit of film study, break the fight down at the end of the video, throw a prediction in as well, and as always I'm going to leave timestamps at the bottom of the screen right now so you can just skip to that part of the video. But before we do anything else, let's get into the tail of the tape.
AJ coming in at 32 years of age, 6'6" in height, 82 inches reach. The champion Usyk, 35 years old, 6'3" in height, 78-inch reach. Usyk rumored and looking like he could be coming in heavier, while AJ looking like he could be a little bit lighter than the last fight. All will be revealed.
Alright, let's talk about these fighters. Let's start with Olexsander Usyk, okay, who pretty much fought a perfect fight. I mean, he fought a very good fight. I watched it about 60 times in the last 2 days. So it's a very complicated fight, you know, like in terms of what Usyk was doing. Well, he was making it look easy, but he was doing a lot in there, okay? And he was really like the ring general from start to finish for the most part. You know, he was allowed to maneuver a lot in that mid-range. I'll talk more about that in the fight breakdown, but Usyk, he put in one hell of a performance. And, you know, the footage floating around now is that he's put on a little bit of weight. You know, he's bulked up a little bit. It's debatable how much it is, but it leans into the mindset of like what's he looking to do, you know, because is he looking to take AJ out and be bigger? Because he hurt him a couple of times, you know, he was landing that left hand clean. So is he looking to like bulk up and really attack and take AJ out, which I think he absolutely can? Is he looking to, you know, beef up and you know, be able to take AJ's shots more because he knows what's coming? Everybody knows pretty much that AJ has to be more aggressive. So is he planning for that? And if he is bulking up, how does that affect him in terms of what he does with his movement and not to mention stamina, his footwork, which is his best asset, or his mind, and his quickness in his mind and his footwork are brilliant. And you know, that's what the footwork was what was killing AJ, you know, the foot speed. So if he bulks up, how much will that affect it? Or are they that confident that AJ's footwork was so bad? Because it was quite bad. I'm going to show a little bit later on in the fight breakdown just how bad AJ's footwork was, which was partly because of Usyk. But you know, they must be thinking, well, we can get away with a bit more here because AJ was so bad on his feet. So very interesting. You know, this fight is fascinating. I cannot wait. I cannot wait for this fight on Saturday. So many layers to it. In terms of who's training him, now he obviously was trained by Lomachenko's dad, Anatoly, I think his name is, Papachenko. So he wasn't actually in the corner for the first fight, and he's rumored to be there now. So I don't know actually if you can let me know if he is there on that, because there was a gentleman, I'll put his name up right now, who took the reins in the corner for the first fight. I don't know much about him, to be honest, but if Papachenko's in the corner, that's only a good thing, you know, because, you know, he's obviously guided and trained Usyk for a while along with Lomachenko. So if I find out more news on that, I'll leave it on the screen right here now. But that is Usyk done for now. Let's move on to the former champion, Anthony Joshua. Massive amount of pressure on this guy's shoulder. Obviously just signed a massive deal with DAZN. Mentally, it's hard to say exactly where AJ is sometimes. I think he's in a better place than he was a few months ago, but just because he's got a new trainer. Never underestimate how important it can be getting brand new, and I mean a new trainer, because I know he's had Fernandez's come in, and you know he's tinkered with other trainers here and there, but no disrespect, but having McCracken out of the picture, just out of the picture, and I would like to think Robert Garcia is the new head coach. That can do wonders for a fighter. It can just enlighten you about, wow, I didn't know about this. This existed? Okay, yeah. Just the stale monotony of doing the same pads, listening to the same voice over and over. And look, McCracken did all right with him. But AJ's a blue chip fighter. He was when he was coming through. You know, he was very talented and he's got a great resume, and he did what he did because of him. You know, obviously McCracken's got to take a bit of credit, but now he's got this clean slate, if you will. And he's going to have fresh ideas, and it's going to energize him. You know, I think it really will. And we'll speak about Robert Garcia. Okay, so obviously his style, or some of the fighters that he's taught, tend to be aggressive, although not all of them. But the one that, you know, that stands out to me that I think is interesting, that I haven't heard anyone talk about, is the fact that he's with Bam Rodriguez, right? And he's been with Rodriguez for a few years. Who's the closest style to Usyk and Loma with that Matrix, you know, style? It's Bam Rodriguez. Now, I'm not saying it carries a lot of weight, but Bam Rodriguez has openly said that he studied Lomachenko for a while, deeply.
Who do you think were some of the guys you fight the most, like, you know, legends of the past, or maybe?
Right. I would say Lomachenko, definitely. You know, I study him, obviously. I try to get his angles, you know. I try to study him a lot, and you know that's where I get my angles from.
You know, every now and then he used to stop in Roberts back in the day, right? Lomachenko.
Yeah, back in Oxnard, I believe. Yeah.
Did you ever have a chance?
I've never met him because when I started training with Robert, he was already in Riverside.
Right.
Yeah.
So they have a mindset, okay? They have a system, and who better to know that than any trainer in the world, other than maybe Joey Gamache, who masterminded the Lopez win over Lomachenko. Robert Garcia's probably got a lot of information on how to, you know, train, or how to train against that style, what can be done, because his best fighter is the closest, you know, clone to those guys. So that's I found that interesting. And, you know, obviously Garcia himself actually won a world title fighting a southpaw. Not that the guy didn't fight anything like Usyk, but in that fight as well, Garcia actually fought southpaw himself. So he knows more than you might think about fighting a southpaw. Anyway, I just thought that was interesting. So anyway, moving on, let's get into the hurt zone.
Now gets his feet back and tries to roar back to nail Pacquiao with the right hand. Oh! That's another knockdown.
Okay, this section, the hurt zone, is just a little fun section where I try to dig out old highlights or old, you know, footage from these fighters getting hurt, and, you know, does it play a part? Is it relevant? And I've got to give Gman Boxing a shout out, because he did a fantastic video. It had like something over 50,000 views. It's done great. I'll leave the link in the description actually. And that opened my eyes. I had no idea that Usyk had been, you know, tagged downstairs and actually hurt downstairs several times, you know, and one of those was definitely something AJ can take advantage of, and that's the straight right hand to the belly. Obviously it was mixed in there with jabs to the stomach. I can't remember, it was in 2013, I forget the guy's name, I don't want to say it because I'm going to butcher it, but I'll show the footage right now. And that is absolutely something AJ's going to have to look to doing. He's going to have to hurt Usyk, and what better way to do it than hit him downstairs where he's already been hurt by lesser fighters, really, to be honest, and smaller fighters probably. In the amateurs as well, when they've got bigger gloves. Actually, no, they don't. 10 ounces. So either way, Usyk's definitely got a vulnerability there. And that's something they're going to have to take advantage, because, you know, he's a tough kid, Usyk, and that's going to slow him down. You know, touching that body, it's no secret, but shooting that right hand, that straight right hand, AJ's going to need to fix his technique big time. It's like really out of range, off balance. It was quite poor, his technique at times in that first fight. You know, I know AJ fans are going to want to switch off in the fight breakdown, because I'm going to be very critical, because he's got a lot to work on, but the straight right hand to the stomach, getting creative with it as well, is something AJ's got to do if he wants to win this fight. And, you know, in terms of obviously the punch that hurt AJ, it's basically pretty much the only punch that Usyk's trying to do damage with is his straight left. And that hurt AJ a couple of times, and he was landing at will clean. So it is the foot positioning that allows him to do that, the feinting and his jab as well. So AJ's going to have to figure out how to diffuse that, and, you know, like, he's going to have to be the boss a bit more, and he can't let Usyk work so hard in that mid-range. He's got to let him pay for it a little bit, but that's where Usyk can get AJ. Obviously, that's an obvious one, the straight left hand, he's done it. And that's the one AJ should be looking out for, because it's pretty much the only punch Usyk's trying to do damage with. Anyway, let's talk about the fight breakdown, and let's get into the prediction. Alright, fight breakdown. This one is complicated, okay? There's a lot of factors. Like I said, I've watched this fight a ton of times, and it's confusing for AJ, to be honest. This is a confusing fight, because Usyk's so masterful with his little tricks. And I think basically, well, look, he's the way I see it, right? AJ is like, you know, Hatman made a good video, which I was going to talk about as well. It's like, when you give a fighter too much information, right, that it can backfire, right? And they tend to get an overload, right? You know, when you're using a computer, and I've got a Mac, right? And when you're using it too much, you're trying to push it too hard, you get that rainbow that, you know, the rainbow I'm talking about, because the computer freezes and it doesn't know what to do. That could be what AJ could do if he does all the things he should be doing, because there's so many things that he needs to do in order to sort of be successful in this fight, I think. You know, obviously there's the good old fashioned, you know, put it on him and, like, you know, but that's not going to work against Usyk. He's too smart, he's too quick on his feet and quick in his mind, you know. So, like, but for one thing's for sure, AJ's body language and his intensity and his punching technique have to change, right? He was pouring with that jab way too casually for no purpose whatsoever. A couple of times it worked, but he's got to be more assertive from the opening bell, and he's going to have to flash his jab a little harder, and that's going to take more energy from him though, right? But on top of that, you know, obviously, listen, when you're fighting a southpaw, it's no secret you've got to get your foot on the outside. This is basic stuff. What you're taught to do straight away on how to fight a southpaw on day one, and southpaws get taught that from day one, how to you know, fight whoever they're fighting. Obviously, if they're not fighting another southpaw, it doesn't work. But getting that foot on the outside, if you watch how many times Usyk did that and was landing those left hands, AJ it didn't even look like it was a thought for AJ to even get his foot on the outside. And, you know, he's got to push Usyk back. Usyk had far too much joy in that mid-range without feeling a sense of urgency, you know. Like, AJ's got to make him feel and make him work for that space. How does he do that? Stiff, hard, step in with the jab. 1-2, get creative with that 2, okay? Shoot a straight right hand to the head, shoot it to the body. Stare him at the head, shoot that shot to the body. Sharp, straight shots with good technique. But the body language, fight a little bit taller. You know, really impose yourself, but without selling out. He's got to sell out at some point probably, but I think the early part of the fight is vital for AJ to make his mark a little bit. Hurt Usyk somehow in the first half of the fight, maybe even the first few rounds. He's really got to assert his dominance, but be smart with it, okay? He's got to be smart with it because, I mean, again, you're in danger of overloading the computer and getting that rainbow pop up in AJ's head and just like freeze and then get tagged, because when he stops thinking, or when he's thinking too much, and Usyk just slides in with that foot on the outside, bang, shoots him with the left hand. You could tell AJ was in like a state of confusion. So, complicated stuff, man. It's not easy. It's going to be this is probably AJ's toughest fight. And, you know, but he's going to have to be in tremendous shape. I've spoke about this in the pre-fight, in my early thoughts video. I also touched on a Boxing Gems video that he made about shutting down the Matrix, what Tio did to Loma. Don't think that's realistic for AJ to do that, because you've got to really shoot a sharp, hard, fast jab. Not necessarily at Usyk's head, but at his lead hand, okay? I'll leave the link to that Boxing Gems video because it's fantastic. But can AJ do that realistically? I don't think so. But he's going to have to tighten up his technique. His footwork was absolutely atrocious at times, okay? Very poor footwork. Unacceptable, to be honest. If you're going to win this fight, you need to get better footwork. Has he had enough time to drill this? No, you know. So another thing that he could certainly have used. This is why Robert McCracken was a detriment to him in the last 2 years, because you could have learned how to use the long guard a little bit better in the last. You could have developed that. You know, these little wrinkles in AJ's game that should be coming through. If you watch how Klitschko uses the long guard to control people with his head guard, you know, head movement, head control. There were times in that Usyk fight where he could have quite easily controlled his head and bam, he should have shot him with it with the right hand, but he didn't really know how to control Usyk. He's not an easy man to control, but it's a skill, and his footwork was all over the place. You know, there were times he was looking like a Thunderbird. You know, you know that old Thunderbird TV show where they're like on stilts. I mean, it wasn't good. His front foot was flipping up like a paddle. It was just painful to watch, if I'm honest. Like from a like a technical standpoint, there was a lot of like big flaws in AJ's game, and I hope he can clean those up to a degree where he can just at least shave off a lot of the mistakes, because you know it's going to be incredibly challenging for AJ to. And the fact, the more I hear the more I hear myself say this, the less confident I am even about what my prediction was going to be, because I thought this might be a closer fight, but I've just heard myself back and I'm like, I don't know about this, man. I don't know about AJ winning this fight. So, you know, in terms of obviously Usyk is probably, I mean, can he put a performance in like that again? Because he definitely fought out of his skin. Not that he wasn't capable of that. Of course he was, but he fought a great fight. And a lot of that was down to the lack of game plan and, you know, just, I think, lack of preparation too, to be honest with you. So I'd expect AJ to be better. How much better will Usyk be? You know, that's the question. And, you know, again, typically with fighters that are intelligent, that have a higher IQ, that think quicker, they've downloaded a lot of information. If you want to talk about computers, AJ's like a 2.2 gigahertz or Intel with his processor, right? Usyk's like a 3.6 on a Mac. Meaning he can process things a lot quicker and thus, you know, taking that data and bringing it into the second fight. That's how they do it. That's how these boxers, purer boxers, do it. I'm not saying Usyk's a pure boxer, because he's got some sort of awkwardness about him as well, but he definitely has that mind IQ that he can download the data and improve on it, and that is a worry for AJ. So what do I think will happen? I think, you know, AJ will be able to come out. I think he will hurt Usyk early on. I really do. I think he's going to impose himself intelligently, hit him downstairs where he can, use that right hand. He's got to get that southpaw killer. He's got to trigger it like a snake, right? When he was fighting, AJ was his hands were out here. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. That is a tale for Usyk to see. He's going to pull back. You're not going to land shots. You got to shoot like a. When I say fight like a snake, I mean it. You watch snakes, how they attack their victims. They're dead still, and then boom, they just shoot. Okay, you don't give any time for your opponent to realize that. Now, that's easier said than done. It's got to be good footwork with that, and that Usyk's offsetting him. But AJ, his technique, his mindset, and his body language, for me, and his discipline are the key factors in this, and just not overloading as a computer, which he will. But, you know, Usyk, I expect Usyk to get into the fight later on. I really think he's going to have to weather some kind of storm early on, and, you know, deal with a lot more pressure than be on the back foot a bit more than he was in the first fight. And, you know, perhaps, like I said, get hurt and come back from that and do what he did. And at the end of the first fight, where he just adjusts, you know, he's constantly adjusting, and make AJ work really hard. And then when AJ does tire, and he will tire, because I think his game plan is going to be more demanding, I think Usyk will be able to get more success. Will he stop him? It's quite possible. I can honestly see all four possibilities. I can see an AJ stoppage, I can see an Usyk stoppage, I can see Usyk on points, and I can also see a slight close, like, draw, maybe, you know. But there's so much more to talk about this fight, to be honest with you, but I'm going to keep it still. Maybe I'll do another video about keys to victory, because I was watching so much of this fight. There's so much to digest that, you know, I'm actually going to pick Olexsander Usyk again on points, just a close win. You know, I think it'll be closer than the first fight, and I think Usyk will come through, you know, a serious patch where he's hurt, and he's going to have to use his IQ, his mindset, his warrior spirit, his discipline, and, you know, his ability of being a great fighter to come through and get another victory against AJ. And I think AJ's going to do better than he did. And, you know, like I said, he's gonna come out early, and he's gonna look to be dominant and win some early rounds. Like I said, I think he's gonna hurt Usyk. I think they both could hurt each other. This could be a great fight. I think it could be a great fight. I think it's going to be a great fight, and it's going to be great for the fans. And look, it's on pay-per-view. We got to support this fight, all right? None of this streaming nonsense. I know it's tempting, but I'll be paying for this fight as a boxing fan. I can't wait for it on Saturday. And I think, you know, AJ, I think Usyk's going to win on points, just like a majority decision. I'll back that up with maybe a draw. I think AJ's going to do all right. I think he's going to put on a decent performance, but Usyk's just too good, too skillful, too crafty, and too tricky, you know, at the end of the day. But I hope both guys come out the ring healthy, and that's all we can ask for. Get a good fight. May the best man win. Boxing wins, you know. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, if you enjoyed the content, and have yourself a great week. All right, boxing on the edge.